I don't know. You had something on the other paper that was like like indecision or decision fatigue or something.
Next
like
week's
that.
episode, right?
Yeah, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but to me, it's like,
oh no,
like,
right here actually.
Yeah.
So
Decision paralysis.
Yeah.
Like, and so
the episode that we want to kind of get into that we've outlined here a little bit is essentially like chaos and non-chaos.
Yeah.
So, what are rules that you put into place to avoid chaos? Comes from this idea of like the tyranny of freedom.
Yeah.
So like complete freedom.
Right.
And while I don't necessarily agree with that idea on a macro scale.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't agree with that idea on a macro scale. I do think it can be effective on like an individual scale.
Mm-hmm.
When you're looking at your life as an individual, sometimes having some, choices that are just made, can be incredibly useful. And, decision paralysis. I mean, what kind of ideas does that breed for you?
For me, the first thing I think of when I see decision paralysis is I never experience it. Yeah. I feel like I have no trouble being decisive with things. And if anything, it would be that decisiveness can occupy a little too much space with impulsivity and impulsiveness. Is impulsivity a word? Impulsiveness, where what was the phrase I used before? Like think it or feel it, think it, make it, send it, or whatever. I would say like you just like plow through that process without necessarily taking a step back. Maybe a little bit more of an omniscient point of view, an objective point of view to go, what are we doing here? Like, what's this? What's the potential outcome of this? Is this the right move? I don't do any of that because to me it gets me into like decision paralysis.
The move fast and break things.
Yeah, move fast and break things. And I think, someone could point out, well, when we look at your bank account, when we look at where you are, where you live, the house that you have, these traditional markers of success, which I push back against constantly, but still have to manage, whether it's your family's expectations, a significant other's expectations.
It's still in your head always, though.
Yeah, that stuff is just there because it's around you. You drive through a nice neighborhood like Dundee, and you know that there are people who are better off than you, that are like, I don't know, grinding harder, or they picked professions where you just get a job and you make a lot of money and you pay off your student loans in a couple of years and you're good to go. But I don't experience decision paralysis. I just get an idea. I see a vision for something, and I just go. Now, sometimes my strategy to achieve that vision is a little haphazard. It's a little messy. It's a little maybe a little irrational at times. Maybe it's a little irresponsible, even in extreme situations. And I don't know if that's sort of the curse of someone who really sees clearly what the outcome is of this path that I'm on and what I think it's going to do for me, the ROI I'm going to get, and not necessarily financial ROI, but spiritual ROI, fulfillment ROI, artistic ROI, whatever. I just, tend to go at breakneck speed and just figure it out as I go. And, you could argue that there's certainly been some moments in my life where, financial things have really, shit has hit the fan and has
dictated your decision making.
Well, the finances didn't dictate the decision making, but then something significant financially occurs. Like, I sort of, one of the things I blame the failure of my screenwriting pursuit was not having like a very disciplined strategy with finances moving to Los Angeles. How much money do you need to make? What are your expenses? How do you break stuff and move fast, but understand what your baseline needs to be? Like, you can't screw around with the amount of money you have to have in your checking account. And if that means that you suffer because you have to get this job or drive an Uber or whatever, you have to have an understanding of what you need to sacrifice in order to achieve that vision. It can't just be make a big mess, tear the whole place apart, have a blast doing it, and then hope for the best on the other side. And that would probably be the only thing in this process of complete upheaval over the last maybe 2 years, year and a half, whenever I really started moving into photography and changing a lot of my approach to the work I'm making and the content I'm making. It echoes that approach in LA, which was, I'll figure it out.
It had been a golden afternoon, and I remember having the familiar conviction that life was beginning over again with the summer.